Have you ever filmed a beautiful clip only to find out later that there's an ugly moiré pattern in it? Yeah, it sucks. But there's good news. I found a way to fix it in Davinci Resolve. Let's take a look. Okay, so I'm here in Davinci Resolve now, and I have two clips to show you. One has a pretty subtle, more flickery moiré effect, and then the second one is a very pronounced, very obvious moiré effect. I'm going to show you how to get rid of the subtle one first, and then we'll work our way up to the more high intensity example. For this first example, I'm going to use a studio version effect, which is the flicker effect. So if you don't have a studio, you're gonna have to figure out another way to take care of that. Another reason to get studio is to have that effect. It's a really good effect, comes in handy a lot, not just for situations like this, but for many other situations. We'll get there in a moment. But basically, moiré is a thing that shows up in your videos when certain objects create patterns in your footage, and it's usually when it's like higher resolution or higher detail than your sensor can resolve, or it's a pattern that just causes your camera sensor to get all whack. A lot of it has to do with what I believe are called anti-aliasing filters. Some cameras don't have that. Now, the footage I'm working with today is from a DJI Air 3. Now, these clips are from a project that I shot last month that I've been working on for a while, and I've encountered this issue with this fire tower. If you look at this clip in full screen and you pay attention closer to the fire tower, you'll see that there's a lot of just flickering. It's very subtle, but it's distracting enough that I don't like it. Take a look at the next clip. It tilts up and you see that there's just this rotating, wavy, flickering pattern on it. And so the goal for this video is to show you how to remove that, because that's not something you want in your footage. Let's go to the previous clip and we'll start with the easy one. This one, basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna mask out the part that's flickering, which is the tower. And this tower, the reason it's causing that moiré flicker is because of just it's sheet metal. It's up and down on the sides, and it's just, it's a lot of things, and it's hitting a point with the resolution. It's also in a pixel bin sensor, so pixel bin sensors do this a lot, where it's too much for it to handle, and because of the pixel binning, it causes that moiré. So we're just gonna mask out the part that I want to fix the moiré, and then we'll go from there. I've already graded it. It's in DaVinci Wide Gamut. I'm going to do all of these adjustments outside of DaVinci Wide Gamut before it goes into it. And that way you can follow it for whatever scenario you're working on. It can technically work anywhere. I just like to put it there because I want it to be at the beginning, just the way I prefer to have it. You can put it at the end if you want, if you think it's gonna work better. But I'm going to add 3 nodes prior using Shift S. And the first one is gonna be our mask. The second one is going to be our blur. And then our third one is going to be the flicker. And we're gonna take this node and we're basically gonna start right here and we're gonna draw a mask. So we're gonna go to the masking tab, take the pen tool, and just draw a mask as precisely as you can around the area that you need to remove the flicker from. And so I've done that just here. The flicker is primarily in the whiter areas of it. The shadows of this don't have flicker. And so what I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna go over to the qualifier and I'm gonna turn on my highlight using Shift H. And you can see this is our mask. It's pretty clean. We can feather it out later. I'm just gonna clean that up right there. Now we're gonna go back over to the qualifier, and I wanna only be affecting this area. So I'm gonna go to the luminance. I'm gonna disable hue and saturation. I'm just gonna take the low and bring that up until it kind of goes and gets rid of the low end. And I'll just kind of feather that a bit until it looks about right. And then I'll go to low soft and expand that just ever so slightly. That way, when we blur it, because we will be blurring it, we're not blurring some of the things that have more detail. Now, obviously, we're getting some of the shadows back in, but it'll be fine. It's gonna be barely noticeable. We're only gonna do a very slight blur just to get rid of the waviness of it. And so we have that. Next thing you need to do is track the mask. Now, I'll turn off my highlight using Shift H. And if I go to track this mask, it probably won't work. Yeah, I mean, it did a decent job. It stayed with it, but it didn't match the perspective. And so in that case, I'm going to need to manually mask it. And you can do this with keyframes. So you go over to the keyframe tab. If you don't already have it open, you can open the keyframe tab, and I'll reset the tracker. I'm just going to go to corrector 1. I'm going to hit this little diamond right there that enables keyframing for that clip. And I'll right click in the track area and hit add dynamic keyframe. And so now it's set to be there, and then I'm just going to keyframe it as needed. So I'm going to just jump to this point in the clip, fix that. I'm basically just lining up the corners. You don't have to do this if your initial track worked, but unfortunately for me, it didn't work for this clip. And trust me, I've tried a million other ways to do it. I know for this clip, I have to manually mask it. So, you know, you just do that and you get it to the point where it looks good. Spontaneously, I have a mask now, and I did feather it a little bit. And so what I'll do from here is I'm going to take that mask and I'm going to plug it into the blur node. And so in this node is where I'm going to add blur. And you can do that by just heading over here to the blur tab. And instead of doing the blur, I'm going to go over to sharpen, which sounds counterintuitive, but I'm going to show you why in a second, and it'll look pretty nice. We're going to go to coring softness, take that to 50, and then the level, I'm going to do 50 for that as well. And that just kind of smooths out the effect a little bit, makes it not as pronounced. And now we're just going to ever so slightly push up on the radius here. Just barely. Just enough where it kind of smooths it out more, but you don't have all the moiré. So you can still see detail, but for the most part, it's gotten rid of a lot of the moiré. If we look at that in full screen, it is improved, but there's still a bit of flicker. We can take that to the next level. We can take our blur, take our key, and plug it into the deflicker node. And now we're going to go into the effects window and type in deflicker. It is studio only, but it's worth upgrading the studio for this thing alone. So you can take that, drag it, and drop it on. And then by default, it goes to time lapse. And this is really useful for time lapses. And I could probably do a whole other video on how to use it for time lapses. But we're going to change that to fluoro light, because in the fluoro light setting, it's designed to counteract the flickering you'll sometimes see from fluorescent lights. That setting, while it's tuned for fluorescent lighting, is very similar to the kind of flickering we're getting here. Like if you're in an environment where there's fluorescent lights that are flickering and it's capturing on your camera, it's very flashy. And so if we go into speed optimization settings, you can keep it as is, but we can try to restore a little bit more data. Let's go to 0.45 or 0.47 or so, and you can adjust this as needed. It's gonna, honestly, it was probably good with the default settings, but if we go to the beginning and we hit play, it is significantly less flickery now. And it's a very subtle difference, and some people may roast me in the comments for that. Like, why does that even matter? It doesn't. I couldn't even see it on YouTube. You probably can't even see it on YouTube. It makes a difference. And if you're delivering for a client, if you're delivering for something that's going to be on a large screen, especially here, I'm working with a monitor rather than my laptop screen that I normally work with, I notice a lot more. And I'm finding that it's making me a lot more conscious about the subtle things that are happening in my image. And so even though it's a really subtle thing that, the average person wouldn't always see, it's good to know how to take care of it. But that was a subtle example. Let's say the moiré you're dealing with is a lot more intense. Take a look at this next clip. You can see that it's the fire tower again, and it's the sheet metal causing moiré to appear, and it doesn't look very good. You can just see it's kind of like a banding pattern all over the image. We can zoom in here on it, go to the clips window, and it's just not very good. And no, it's not my color grade that did this. You can see it's there even on the raw footage. Not my color grade that did it. It's the footage, it's the camera. The camera is a pixel bin camera that probably doesn't have an anti-aliasing filter. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated, but stay with me. I'm going to show you how to take care of it. We're going to use Shift S to add 4 nodes prior to our tree. We're gonna name the first one mask, and then the second one blur. The third one is gonna be color, and then the fourth one is gonna be restore. We're gonna do the same thing as last time. We're gonna start by masking it, and then we're gonna blur it, but then we're not gonna do deflicker, because deflicker I found doesn't always work for this. It's only if it's physically flickering. Here we have banding moving across a surface. It's a stronger moiré pattern. It's a different circumstance and it requires a different way of dealing with it. So I'll go ahead and mask this and then do the same thing for blur, and then we'll go from there. So I've gone ahead and masked it and added blur. It has improved it slightly, but the main issue with this example is that it's moving. It's a pattern that's not just flickering, it's moving around. And there's colors moving too. And so we're gonna have to take what we've already done and add it into the saturation node. And I'll just take the key, bring it over, and now I'm going to take this and completely desaturate it. And now it looks awful. Like, why would I do that? But trust me, now if we play it back, we don't have the movement. We've fixed that because the movement was with colors. So we fixed that, but obviously it doesn't look right. So we have to take that key, put it into our restore node. What I'll do now is match this color to the rest of the scene using the color wheels. And so I'm gonna pull out my panel for this because I just prefer doing it that way. And I'm gonna take the gain, put it a little more cool. And then I'm gonna take my gamma, adjust it a little bit. And voila. In one node, with just a few quick adjustments, we've fixed the colors. And so now it looks normal. Like if I go and disable it, you can tell that that's kind of what the color of the tower is. And we have a subtle pinkish purple golden hour kind of thing going on with this shot. And so I think it fits well. The only other thing I would do is I would probably raise the gain a little bit, raise the lift slightly, not too much. And there we go. We fixed the moiré. And if I play it back, let's zoom in on it. Let's go full screen, actually. It's gone. You're seeing it. I'm seeing it. No more moiré. We don't have to cry anymore. So much better. Well, that's going to be all for this video. If you enjoyed, you know what buttons to click. My name is Rocco. Jesus loves you, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.